Zuschauerinnen, liebe Zuschauer.
Dear viewers, dear listeners, a very warm welcome to a further program of our series, The Speaking All Unity, the Word of the Universal Creator Spirit. We continue to read from the book with the same title, A Cosmic Work of Teaching and Learning from the School of Divine Wisdom. The programs up to this point have given us a very unique insight into the event of creation, such as Gabriele has depicted in our conversation rounds. Today, we will learn through what divisiveness and its resulting calamity comes into the world, who produces it unceasingly, so that the speaking all unity can hardly be at all perceived by us human beings. We will read about the 5 components in the life of a human being that become warfare agents.
Immer wieder hören und lesen wir,
over and over again, we hear and read that we should think about the way we feel, sense, think, speak, and act. In connection with our senses, these 5 components can turn into explosives, because they are energies that we emit, and, ultimately, whose effects unfailingly hit the one who emitted them. In order to learn, we could ask ourselves, who are we and what do we emit?
Science teaches that no energy is lost, and that thoughts are also energies that do not miss their mark. At every moment, 7 billion people are sending thought energies with the most varying content to their fellow people, to the animals, to nature, and into the Earth's atmosphere, giving off their personal thought war agent to the environment, which combines with similar content of thought energies and intensifies there.
Und potenziert.
In most cases, the content of people's sensing, feeling, thinking, speaking, and acting is against the 10 Commandments of God and the Sermon on the Mount of Jesus of Nazareth, and is thus viewed energetically negative radiation patterns. That is, negative radiation energies, which are unceasingly emitted. If this were not so, why then is the Earth, with all its life forms, in such bad shape? Even though its illusion managers from politics, economy, and the church try to whitewash the relatively short-term and unavoidable end to the present human civilization. Who shaped and shapes the people of the nations, as related to the level of church traditions, become apparent as follows. Year after year, the so-called Christian holidays are preceded by huge slaughter feasts, in which millions and millions of liters of blood are shed. Large parts of the population think nothing of it when millions and millions of animals are slaughtered. Especially the traditional marten goose is part of the suffering caused by the killing machinery. Martin of Tours is mentioned in history for his mercy, because he allegedly shared his coat with a freezing beggar. That's the whole story. Now what do the millions of murdered geese have to do with the Catholic feast of St. Martin? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. At some point, with the blessing of the church leaders, people ate the carcass of a goose on this St. Martin's Day, And this carcass meal spread ever more in the heads of the people, by way of the energies of thoughts, and not lastly through the blessings of the caste of priests, until it became a so-called custom that many lemmings simply followed without listening to their conscience. God, the Eternal, does not bless the murder of His creatures. Whose blessing lies on all the randomly massacred animal carcasses? The following is also part of a traditional slaughter feast. Millions and millions of turkeys have to lose their lives at Christmas time, the celebration of love, because ecclesiastical masterminds bless the carcass meal for the holy night, and thus more and more people emit the same radiation frequencies and become imitators of a ritual of blood and killing which stems from paganism. The result is a bloodbath among the animals, which has assumed an unimaginable dimension and becomes greater year after year. For the animal torturers who specialize in animal suffering, it is a profitable business on earth. However, in the beyond, the acquired pieces of silver will be recorded on the debit side of the person's life account in an overriding bookkeeping system. Proceeding from the church feast days, the whore also goes through the woods and fields. Every year, tens of thousands of deer and other free-living animals, such as hares and wild pigs, are sneakily, stealthily, and brutally killed by hunters, whereby many, very many animals are merely wounded, or their legs are shot off, so that the severely wounded animals hide from the predator man and die an endlessly long and miserable death. The animals that had a short death struggle are called the bag in hunter jargon, and are often blessed by priests who call themselves Christian. For the feast of love, a finely prepared venison roast is on the table, from an animal that often died miserably under lengthy agony. This is then the blessed, silent night, holy night. In this way, the holy night, in which true Christians who followed Jesus of Nazareth should experience the Christ of God in the stillness of profound prayer in their inner being, is turned into a bloodbath and a carcass meal of an externalized Christianity, which is an abomination to God and closes the gates to heaven. With the Church's blessing, many people thoughtlessly and indifferently while away the hours of celebration in a befogged night marked by perdition, which the incense in the churches cannot brighten either, for the blind guides of religion, as Jesus of Nazareth called them, can merely point the way into the pit. The calamitous disaster continues. The Christmas trees have a similar fate as the animals. Christmas trees came into general use in the 19th century. But it was only after the beginning of the 20th century that it became a massacre of young trees, which is in no way secondary to the massacre of the animals. the indifferent and negative thoughts, disdainful of life of many people, combine into massacre energies, which finish off the young living trees by the millions. Young plant life, with strong roots, filled with sap and strength, filled with joy over the new spring, in order to continue growing and to give food and protection to the moldy faceted life from God, to blossom and flourish, to bear fruit and give shade, is simply felled, so that misled people can decorate a room for a few short weeks, or as a magnificent tree, to also be sacrificed to the pagan cult on a church square.
Dem heidnischen Kult geopfert zu werden.
All this, again with the blessing of the church masterminds, who call themselves priests, and who often understand little about the life which God is, in all and in all things. Many people are aware that trees and plants are living beings. Scientific studies of the interrelationships in woods and fields have verified that trees and plants communicate with each other over great distances. It has also become known that trees and plants respond to being addressed by people, and that they love classical music. It has become known that plants bear especially nice fruit when harmonious classical music is played to them. It has become known that trees and plants can experience joy and stress, all of it very similar to people and animals. Dear fellow people, I would like to speak out very clearly about what really happens with animals and nature on so-called feast holidays. The killing ritual at the so-called church feast holidays, no matter whether the killed victim is a turkey, a goose, a deer, or a Christmas tree, or whatever else takes place, over the whole year, are against the law of life, which is God, and come under the fifth commandment, you shall not kill. Particularly at Christmas time, we hear the carol, "O you joyful, O blessed, O merciful Christmas time." But millions of animals are sacrificed without mercy to the god Baal, and millions of hectoliters of blood are left to the allegedly Christian sewer systems. Millions of trees are mercilessly chopped down and soon land in the Christian trash. One could think that most people are subject to demonic mass hypnosis, so that they have lost all sensations, feelings, and thoughts, and positive support for the life, as well as the decisive action for all life forms. Does this terrible bloodshed have anything at all to do with ethics and morals? What is given here as examples holds equally true for all animals and plants over the whole earth. The warfare agents of the five components do not stop before anything, whether duck or goose or sheep, whether pig or chicken, whether cow, carp or salmon, whether trees or flowers. It is always the life which has to lose its life. Today, this frequently takes place under the premise, render homage to Baal, whereby today he is equipped with several magic hoods.
durch den
Through his prophet Isaiah, God the Eternal revealed